Hello. Welcome on back to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Spencer, and for today's video, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do quite yet, but I do know that since we're at that time of year, we're in fall, 'tis the season, I really wanted to do a warm toned smoky eye, and I think the backdrops, the fabrics, the reds are really inspiring me to maybe incorporate some red into the eyeshadow. I don't know. We'll see how it goes and we'll see what happens. So if you want to tag along for the ride and learn how I created this look right here, then keep on watching. So to begin, I'm using the Fresh Rose Deep Hydration Oil Infused Serum to prep our model's skin. Our model, Emoot, already has beautiful skin, so this serum will just help keep its hydration and glow throughout the makeup application. But it's also light enough so that she won't become overly oily throughout the day. And for the lips, I'm just applying a bit of this lip balm to keep them hydrated. With the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation, I'm going to begin building up the coverage. For this look, since I'll later on be going in pretty heavy with the eye makeup, I want to keep the skin light, fresh, and breathable. I don't want a super full coverage look. You may have noticed that I only put maybe one pump of this foundation onto the back of my hand before I began applying it with the Beauty Blender. I'm not using much of this at all, and this will be more than enough to cover the full face and down the neck. More than anything, I'm relying on the foundation to balance out the skin tone, and then I'll later on rely on the concealer for coverage where I need it. I'm taking my time with this because I want the foundation to look like one with the skin. I really want to work this into the skin and to be sure that it appears completely seamless. And this includes bringing it up onto the ears because I'll later on be styling the hair up in a top knot. So anything that's going to be exposed, the ears, the back of the neck, you want to make sure it matches with the face. To contour, I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in the shade Honey to bring back some definition to the face. I'm applying this with a blush brush right to the hollow points of Emoot's cheeks and up towards the temples and forehead. The yellow undertone in this concealer is really perfect for her complexion. Usually, the lighter one's skin tone is, the more I'll steer towards a contour that has more yellow pigment in it and less red pigment in it. I like sticking to golden undertones for fairer complexions. If the contour has too much red pigment in it, it starts becoming more of an orange, and that's really better used on deeper complexions. It's a little tricky matching undertones and all that. It's something that took me forever to understand, and really, even till this day, I still miss the mark sometimes. Especially when filming, the shade will match perfectly in person. I feel great about it, the model is feeling it, and then I see it on camera or in a photo, and I'm like, what in the world happened here? So, the moral of the story here is that matching undertones has been one of the more challenging parts of makeup for me over the years. So if you're struggling with the same thing, just know that you're not alone. Maybe one of these days I'll film a video on how I color match my clients and how I adjust the undertones of products by adding in different color pigments. But anyways, back to this. As you've seen, I've applied this contour around the perimeter of the face, including the cheeks, forehead, jawline, and nose, before blending it out with a beauty blender. The contour isn't too dramatic, just a subtle hint of color that brings back some definition to the face. Once I have the contour applied and blended, I'm next going in with a Huda Beauty Overachiever concealer in the shade Coconut Flakes to highlight the facial features. I've applied a small amount of this to the back of my hand, dabbed the Beauty Blender into it, and then began applying it to the under eye area. Usually you see me apply the concealer directly onto the face with a concealer brush before blending it out. But because I want a little less coverage than usual today, I'm using this method. By dabbing the Beauty Blender into the concealer on the back of my hand first, there's not as much product going onto the face as if I were to apply it directly with a brush. And wherever on the face I want to add a little brightness, I'll softly press whatever concealer I have left in the Beauty Blender onto that part of the face. I blended the concealer up and out from underneath the eyes because I really wanted to accentuate our model's striking cheekbones. And I'll then apply this to the center of the forehead, Cupid's bow, chin, and corners of the mouth. Like I did with the foundation, I'm really taking my time with the blend here. I know a lot of you like when I include this blending footage, so this is for you. Alright, so now that we have the liquids and creams applied, it's time to set everything. To do so, I'm using the translucent powder from Mercier, pouring it into the palm of my hand, and then applying it with a powder puff. You can see I'm not applying a whole lot of this, just enough to set the products into place. And you'll notice I'm not setting the highest points of her cheekbones. I love the way the light is just bouncing off the skin there, and I want this area to remain looking dewy. I love this method of setting the face too. Sometimes it's just nice to set and mattify the T-zone and keep other parts of the face looking dewy and glowy from the skincare and foundation. It kind of gives the makeup that worn-in look. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I find that my makeup looks better after a couple hours of wearing it. My natural oils are coming through, the powder has settled in, and everything kind of just looks a little bit more natural and glowy. It also makes it a heck of a lot easier to do this when the hair is styled out of the face. Otherwise, if you have your hair down and falling across your face, it kind of takes off half of the makeup that isn't set with powder. So you may want to keep that in mind if you give this a try. For the under eyes, I'm applying a little extra powder to not only bake this area, but to catch any fallout that we may have from the eyeshadows. Moving on to the actual eye makeup, I'm starting with this one size black eyeliner and placing this right at the lash line. I'm creating a pretty thick line here and being kind of messy with it because I'm going to end up blending it all out here in a second anyways. To blend it out, I'm just using a detail blending brush and buffing out the edges up and outwards. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect either. The black liner is just there to serve as a base for the eyeshadows that we'll later be placing on top of it. But it is important to have it blended out. You're gonna want it to gradually lift upwards. Otherwise, after you place the shadows on top, you will see that harsh line if it isn't blended out enough. Next, I'm using this Daisy Marquez eyeshadow palette from BH Cosmetics to begin building up the shadows. I've started with that cranberry shade in the palette called Bittersweet, and I'm placing that onto the eyelid. Now you'll notice I'm not going right in with back and forth windshield wiper motions. I'm tapping this on first with a flat blending brush, and then I'll go in with another brush to diffuse the edges. This will not only help prevent fallout, but it will also help getting the most pigment payoff. And the blending on this eye look will probably be the longest I've spent than on any other video. Red eyeshadows are the trickiest for me to work with. Red eyeshadows in general are very tricky to not only create and formulate, but just to apply and to get the best blend with, which is probably why I never use red eyeshadow. I'll do any other color in the rainbow, but red, not my friend. But I really wanted to switch it up today and try incorporating colors from the backdrop into this eye look. And I also wanted to try out a new eyeshadow palette that I've never used before. This palette has a few different colors in the red burgundy family, so I've dipped into them all to build up this look. Heading back to the black eyeliner, I'm running this along the outer half of the lower lash line before blending it out with that same cranberry shade, but with a smaller detail blending brush. I just realized how many brushes I'm holding. How obnoxious. I wasn't lying when I said red shadows are a struggle for me. In fact, a lot of this footage here is just me going back and forth between different brushes and different shadows, but from the same palette. And I do want you to get a true idea of how much time is put into this blending. So I'm gonna include all the footage, but just speed it on up a bit. Okie dokie, most of the hard work is done with. The blend is it's holding on by a thread. But hey, I guess we are our own worst critic. But I will say, I am loving how we're kind of getting Mulan vibes here. Is it just me, or are you guys seeing this too? And in case you want to know which exact shadows I used from this palette, they are Bittersweet, which is the cranberry shade, Karma, which is a fire red-orange shade, Dulce, which is a yellow-orange, and Mother, which is a black shade. Next, with these lashes from Too Faced in the style Drama Queen, I'm applying this on using the lash glue from Lily Lashes. And while I wait for this glue to dry, I'm going to begin working on the eyebrows, using the micro brow pencil from NYX in the shade Noir. I opted to go with the darkest shade brow pencil because I really wanted to strengthen the brow enough so that it matches her hair, but also so it balances well with the eye makeup. Of course, like any of these steps, you can customize it to your liking. You can use more, you can use less, but in my case, our model today, Emoot, said she wanted a heavy eye makeup look with lashes and all, so we're going for it. I like this brow pencil because it's not too harsh and it's also precise enough to individually draw on brow hairs. Once I have this brow shaped the way I want and filled into my liking, I'm going to add one last final detail. With this highlighter from Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Snowflake, I'm going to highlight the brow bone in the inner corner of her eye. I'm going to complete the other eye and brow off camera just to save us a few minutes, and then I'll dip into that same highlighter to highlight the cheekbones, nose, and Cupid's bow. Now remember, we didn't really set the cheekbones earlier with any powder, so they already have that really pretty glow and dewiness to them. This is just going to bump it up a whole other level. These Anastasia highlighters are probably some of the most blinding highlighters I've used, so if that's your thing, check them out. I'll link it down below. Now that we have the skin glowing, I'm going to move on to lips. With the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in the shade Starfish, I'm lining the borders of her lips, leaving the center bare. Because I went so dramatic with the eye look, I want to keep the lips kind of simple, so of course, a nude lip is the best way to go. With this matte lipstick from Mercier in the shade Vibe, I'm filling in the center of the lips. And this rosy pink color is really the perfect accent color to complement the other lipstick we used. And to finish off this lip, I'm using the Fenty Beauty Glass Bomb Lip Gloss in the shade Baby Brute to give the lips that super shiny and luxurious look that I love. Once I finish up with this gloss, we'll finally be on the very last step. Can you believe it? I'm using the All-Nighter Setting Spray by Urban Decay to set this makeup into place so it doesn't move or budge. And that officially wraps up this tutorial and how I took our model from looking naturally gorgeous to totally snatched. There we have it, kids. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out more of my work on my Instagram at PAINTEDBYSPENCER. And until next time, I'll see you soon.